Buenos dias. How are you, Maddie?
Buenos dias. I'm so excited to talk to you today, Maribel.
I am too. Oh my God, you guys are in for such a good episode. Para las mamás that are bilingual, that are struggling, trust me, I wish this was around in 2008 when I had my son. I'm like, he's 15 now, so it's too late for me to try to immerse him into your program. But you guys, you're in for a good one. Maddie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
To start off, where are you connected from? Where in the world are you?
I currently live right outside of Boston, Massachusetts, which is never a place that I thought I would end up because I'm originally from San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I find myself, my new home for the last 20 plus years has been Boston area.
Wow.
Yeah, pasando los fríos, pasando los calores. But on the East Coast, I feel still very connected. You know, I can go to Puerto Rico pretty easily. But yeah, that's where I am now.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. And for those of you that are listening, I know we have listeners all over the United States and even outside of the United States. But most of you know I'm from San Diego, California. And I was so excited to learn that you guys have a location in San Diego. I immediately, because I have sister-in-laws. I only have one son. He's 15, like I mentioned. Pero tengo mis cuñadas que tienen a sus niños. And I was like, you guys need to go check out this place. Oh, my God, you guys need to go check out this place, please. Because it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe with traffic from where we live.
Yeah.
So if you guys are in the East Coast, if you guys are in my area, San Diego, yes, there's a close by location. But before we even start talking about the program, before we even get into your story, Maddie, I want to know, or let the listeners know, where can they follow you?
So, Canta Y Baila Conmigo. I know it's long, but just spell the words out phonetically. CantaYBailaConmigo.com is our main website, but we are also, thanks to our wonderful team based in LA, our wonderful bilingual team, Aprender Creative with Maria Ochoa. We're also on, because I'm not great with the socials, so I'm just learning.
Oh, okay.
I'm old school. Like I'm on Facebook, but like I didn't know what. So anyway, Facebook and Instagram, Canta Y Baila Conmigo. And through us, you can also probably get to meet whatever teacher and centers are in your area.
Yes. Mm-hmm. If you guys are watching us on YouTube and Spotify, the handles to her social medias, to Canta Y Baila Conmigo, will be on here, just in case you guys are purely English and are maybe wanting to teach Spanish to your kids. I'm writing it out for you so you can find it. Canta Y Baila Conmigo. And then if you're just listening to us, please go to the description box to this episode. You guys will find the links there. It will connect you. Once you click on them, it connects you directly to Maddie's website. Maddie, you're Puerto Rican. You're in Massachusetts. But let's go back a little bit. Let's go back. Yeah. What made you leave Puerto Rico, Maddie? Tan hermosa, la isla del encanto.
I had the most amazing childhood and upbringing in Puerto Rico. And when you're in Puerto Rico, sometimes, or like when you're like in other countries, otras amigas de Sudamérica, we see like the U.S. on TV kind of thing.
Yes.
And I always thought, oh my God, I would love to go to this like huge high school, like your typical, like all those high school movies. But I went to small parochial school instead. And looking back, I had the most blessed childhood, like free range in my neighborhood, very connected to family, and in La Isla del Encanto, how could it be any better? And then I came to the United States to college as a college student, and then I stayed here on the mainland. I decided to go into, I always was a teacher. I decided to go into education. So I ended up in Boston studying to bilingual education. So so I was in New Jersey. I came up, more to Boston, and I don't know. I always thought of Boston as like, I think that's like this lily white place, like the Boston of old. I'm like, New England, like that must be really not very diverse. I'll probably end up in New York. I'm not a huge city person, like a huge city person. So I'm like, I guess I'll have to go to a school in New York. But I didn't want to move to New York. So then I looked into it and I realized that Boston had some of the best bilingual programs for teaching, for bilingual teachers, masters in bilingual ed in the country. And then I'm like, oh my God, the variety of Latino populations, the Brazilians, that this was like my picture of Boston was something from long ago, and Boston has come a long way. And along the way, working with teachers and teaching assistants and families of all sorts of different countries in Latin America, and all over the world. And then the musicians I've worked with here that come to Berkeley, Juan Luis Guerra went to, did his time in Berkeley College of Music. So yeah, so I've stayed here and I love it, but I love San Diego. I've been there and I can't wait to start doing my teacher training. I used to travel around the country doing the teacher trainings on site in different places. So I traveled to California, I traveled to Houston, I traveled, to Florida, and the pandemic put a stop to that. But I can't wait to start traveling again and then go visit you in San Diego.
Yes. Oh my God. When you come down, we have to go get some lunch. We just have to.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. So
that was a long story, but like
No. I'm surprised because I thought too, and I mean I'm 37 years old. No estoy chiquita. My whole entire life until today, August 24th, I thought Boston and Massachusetts was like not diverse.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Boston is not, like Brooklyn or, But, pero Boston tiene mucha más variedad de lo que tú piensas. Venezolanos, haitianos, que por lado de mi papá
Sí.
vienen de Haití. De todos. Y las familias que vienen a mis clases, I have pure Anglo families, and then I have families that are international, and I have every flavor of Latinos in my family, in my classes. So it's really beautiful.
That is beautiful. Okay. So, and I've said this before on the show. My listeners are probably like, I know where she's going with this. But I went to the East Coast in 2003 and I was scared out of it. And I was like, I don't ever want to come back because we were like the only Mexicans in Fayetteville. I think it's North Carolina. We went for my sister's wedding, and the food was not, we were not used to like sweet beans and stuff like that. We're like, what is this? Where's the tacos? Like, what? So I never wanted to go back to the East Coast.
So Maribel, when you say East Coast, the East Coast is very long, and you're talking about the South. There's many good things about the South, but I know nothing about the South because the Northeast is completely different. It's very different.
Look at what he said. So my cousin moved to New Jersey. And she's like, you need to come, and like, it's not what you think. Like, it's so different. And she said the same thing you said. The East Coast is so long, like you're just focusing it on one trip, on one place. And I'm like, you know what? It's just the vibes. Like, I'm not even curious to go to New York.
New York is too big for me, pero chica, vente a Boston. Boston is a walkable city. You can it's like small, and it's a city of neighborhoods. Y hay las partes que puedes ir a un gran restaurante puertorriqueño, dominicano, if you want to kind of like, there is, I'm sure there's not as much awesome Mexican food as where you are, but there's like great Mexican restaurants, Peruvian restaurants, and from all over the world. So, and it's a very walkable city. It's a very kind of like, you can take it. It's not overwhelming. Vente pa Boston, chica.
Yo tengo que ir a visitar a Maddie. Si me miran en las redes sociales en Boston, saben que ando con Maddie. Y a ver si no me quedo allá en Boston. No, I would love to go. Maybe I will go visit you. I mean,
that was a surprise to me too, right? So like that, the Northeast is like Yankee Town, pero no es tanto así.
Yeah, más diversidad.
Y claro, I worked in the school systems where there's bilingual schools, so I've been very connected to the immigrant community, but not even the newer and the older immigrant community, that are no longer newcomers. I mean, like in Boston, we have a lot of people now, like city council, that are no longer like all like
American,
Italian and like Irish men, right? Like we have Mayor Wu, who is a woman and Asian. We have Haitians and Latinos on the city council. So like it's coming along. It's coming
that
along.
Sounds like
surrounding area.
Yo no sabía eso.
Tenemos hasta por fin una estación de radio que la puse un día y era todo todo música que me parecía estar escuchando una estación en Puerto Rico de música popular.
Wow.
Ya, que Bad Bunny. Yo decía, espera, el locutor tenía la voz de, y ahora, it was like, espérate, esto es en Boston.
You're like, what did I do? Do I have satellite radio?
Ya, poco a poco así, pero yo espero que yo ya también haya podido yo traer un poquito para las familias que son más, que no tienen tanta experiencia con lo latino, que espero que Canta Y Baila conmigo, que pueda haber influido, que sé que ha influido en muchas familias anglo que han querido traer el español y las culturas, no solo el español, sino, ¿verdad? Have their kids feel comfortable as global citizens. I mean, because
yes. God, and that was one thing when I went into your website for the first time, me sentí vista.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Me sentí vista y dije, qué bonito que ahorita estamos viviendo este momento, que yo lo estoy experimentando en vida. Nadie me lo está contando, yo lo estoy viendo cómo vamos creciendo, ¿no? There's many setbacks that we still see, but however, we do have to give props and ¿cómo se dice? Recognition to the people like yourself that are making space for all of us, that are including so many of us, because when you think of the Spanish community, it's not just Puerto Ricans. It's not just Venezolanos. It's not just Mexicanos. It automatically goes to Mexican, right? Porque una vez hasta le dijeron a Mark Anthony que se regresara a México. And he's like, I'm Puerto Rican. What are you talking about?
I know. He was probably on the West Coast, though.
Pero digo, o sea, qué bonito que se está trayendo luz y se nos está poniendo a todos, se nos está dando a todos nuestro lugar, no nomás a cierto grupito, no nomás a cierto lenguaje, o sea, todos. I love learning about different cultures. I love traveling, getting to see how people, their cultures, their history, what they eat. And so with this program, I think you're doing that and much more. Because now you're in so many locations, bringing so many families together, y you're touching the lives of little people. And I feel like, it's so important now I'm finally understanding what it means that our kids are the future. We're sparking that into our little ones. So qué hermoso lo que estás haciendo. But tell us a little bit more about it. What do you offer? How did you come up with the idea? Let's start there.
Okay, so I was a bilingual classroom teacher for a number of years, and I love that. But I always use music. I always use drama and music, and I always was doing musical stuff in my own personal life, right? Like not professionally, but a big part of who I am outside of my job it's always been music, right? And then I had my little ones, and really early childhood music is something that has emerged as a field only in the last 40 years, right? Because traditionally and in our cultures, there's music all around. We don't need to take kids to a music class. Why would you take a little one to a music class? But the truth is that even en los Estados Unidos, but even en nuestros propios países, y nuestras culturas latinas, el mundo moderno, we're losing a lot of the, maybe having those parties where el tío saca la guitarra, or that we're actually interacting, making music intergenerationally. And if you're a parent in the United States, and we have parents that the profile of the parents that come, and that's another topic, that come to our class is very varied, but our class, it's not a class, it's a party. Okay, so this is how I explain it. It is a music and movement class en español where we don't teach words through a song. We bring you a language immersion through the music of our cultures, plural, right? Because culture, music, language, you can't separate those things really. We don't have any songs that we use that are the wheels on the bus translated. We don't want any translations because Shakespeare couldn't write in Spanish because it wouldn't have iambic pentameter, the sonnets, you can't stick that where it doesn't belong, right? So with so much wonderful music for kids in English, whatever, why not bring it in Spanish? And why not bring stuff that is partly de la, ¿verdad? Las canciones que conocemos de distintas maneras, pero las canciones de la lírica infantil tradicional que comparten nuestros países, pero otra parte son canciones específicas, songs that specifically come from a country, a genre. So we don't want to make the music, I don't want Barney, I'm sorry. If anybody, and Barney fans out there, esto no es música infantilizada. Esto es música para la familia, okay? With real acoustic instruments, with wonderful musicians that have been collaborating. So you come to this experience where you sit on the floor, and I still do it. You sit on the floor and the parents are singing and are doing all the stuff with me, and the kids are watching and copying and seeing we're building this community. And the live experience is what brings, it's the whole child development, right? It's the parents modeling that they're okay. Put your cell phones away, people, if you come to my class. Because this is the time that you are going to sing with me. I don't care what your kid's doing. They're going to watch you. It's the parents who are going to sing with me. And we model for the little ones. And then the parents take the music home. And I'll tell you, some of our, como tú dices, we want to bring cultures, but I'm one person. I have one personal experience. I'm from Puerto Rico. I could have done a program where it was all canciones que cantaba en el tiempo de mi abuela, todo Puerto Rico. And that would have been very pretty. But my kids were born in the States. Their friends are from Peru and Mexico and Argentina and Guatemala. So they can say they're from Puerto Rico all they want, but this is a plurality of cultures, right? That I can't pretend to represent them all. So what this class does is that, yes, I've brought songs that kind of have the soul of many different communities, but it's really when you are in the community and you have a family that is the nanny from Colombia and el tío de Ecuador, and we bring the culture to the class. So that's where it becomes real.
And I think that's very important because then it makes us part of the experience. So not only are you sharing with us, but we're sharing with you. How neat is that? And right now that you said Barney, I'm like, oh my God, I grew up on Barney.
I mean, that's fine, but you didn't really.
We didn't have a choice.
You didn't really learn anything from that, any culture from that. Like,
No.
okay.
And we didn't have a choice, right? Like,
I know.
Unfortunately, that's what we had. Pero qué hermoso poder ahora darles a nuestros hijos una experiencia diferente donde nosotros podemos ser parte de ello, porque sí, nuestros niños nos están viendo todo lo que hacemos. And right now, what you just said, I loved how you said it. You said your kids are watching you. How comfortable are you? They're watching what you're doing. They're watching how you're expressing yourself. Kids, that's why they say que los niños son como esponjitas, right?
Yes.
Están agarrando todo. So it's like, well, if mommy and daddy want to learn about different cultures, well, why can't I learn about different cultures? I want to know too.
Exactly. How do I interact with other people? We're missing so much interaction, right?
Yes.
And
With social media, we need this.
We need this. We need an actual the research has said for a number of years and keeps saying it that children do not learn unless you are in the presence of a real human being. Mm-hmm. Like our learning of language and social skills and concepts is social. It is you have to have a live person. It's not the same watching a video.
Oh,
no, I'll say we had to pivot, and I do a lot of videos. We had to pivot during the pandemic, and we had classes on Zoom that I never dreamed that we could put a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old enfrente de una pantalla. Sí, ese es mi estudio donde estoy, los que estén viendo. But then we figure out, you just have to make it different from a YouTube video. It's live. I still interact with the kids and I say, ay, mira fulanito, tú tienes un perrito también. You know, and these kids adapted and they were like live with me, but there's nothing like when we went back to the classroom.
Oh, no, porque la energía se transmite and you can only, nomás puedes transmitir tanto por una pantalla, right? I think about almost like, my dad's, I don't know if you know about this cartoon in Mexico, but my dad growing up, his favorite cartoon that he would watch was Topollillo.
Ay, Topollillo, of course. I felt like he was my friend.
Yes. But my dad, and my dad was mentioning the other day, imagínate si me hubieran puesto al Topollillo enfrente, like... And I'm like, oh my God, even if the head was all messed up or whatever, you know, it's like when you go to Disneyland and the kids actually see it. They're not just seeing the Mickey Mouse thing. And he's like, it sería muy diferente. And I'm like, hey, I never thought of that.
You know, you just reminded me of the best compliment I ever got as a teacher with Canta Y Baila, which is like, this family whose little girl had seen me and my videos, right? And it's very much interactive. She thought she knew me, right? Because so she came to a live class and hola Maddie, and I'm like, do I know this child? And Mom, oh, she thinks that you're friends, right? Like that you're. But then her compliment was, this was so great when she came to a live class. And this is not just me. This is other Canta Y Baila teachers too. Like, right? It was like, well, they could hear me in the recording because I'm the one who sings in most of the recordings, right? But they always think whoever's their teacher, that's the person who's in the recording because that's magical too. But anyway, it was like all of a sudden, like seeing like Disney princesses in a movie, and then you go to Disney World, like you said, and then there's the real princess, and you're like,
yes, yes. Imagínate que hace eso para un niño que te está viendo, que ha estado conectando contigo. It means
that
so
makes it
much.
great. That makes it worthwhile for me.
Yes.
Sweat and tears that this has been over the last, 12 years.
And you know, I don't know if I'm the only one that has been through this or not, but my son was just, because he's starting college courses to get college credit and high school credit. Yeah. And so he was like, well, how was your experience, Mom, in college? And, you know, we started talking about school. And I said, you know what's funny? I don't remember any of my teachers as a teenager, like meaning like middle school, high school. I remember one mean teacher from middle school.
Yeah, you remember the mean ones.
Yes. Pero there was not a teacher that touched my life. However, I remember my elementary school teachers because they made it magical, because they went above and beyond. It was like nos influenciaron tanto, and I don't know if it's because it's that time of your life where you're so impressionable. I don't know what it was, but my elementary school teachers to me were magical. And I don't remember middle school and high school.
I know what you mean. I don't think you're the only one. I think it's a very privileged position to be able to work with kids.
Yes.
Now, I work with younger kids. Maybe they won't remember me, but you know who remembers me? The grandmas. Yo tengo una fanaticada. I'll tell you, I tell this a lot. Like I have a daughter who now is 20, and God bless her.
You have a 20-year-old?
Yes. Moms and daughters, you know, have that time when it's like everything like the preteen and teen years, like everything I do is dumb. I don't want, you know, it's silly. Like, I don't want to know about you. You're so uncool. And I said to her, mira, mija, no te preocupes. It's okay. I know we'll be friends again in the future. But for now, yo me voy a contentar con mi fan base de 1, 2, and 3-year-olds and their grandmas. And I'll take their love, and when you're ready, y así fue. Eso me ayudó. Me ayuda todavía.
Oh my God. But you know what? Don't ever underestimate a child's memory.
Oh no!
Don't ever underestimate, because you know, even some of my personal memories are kind of blurry, and I tell my mom, like, I remember this day and this was happening and you were doing this. What was the context? Like, what was going on that day? And she's like, you remember that? And I'm like, I remember bits and pieces of it. So imagínate que un niño en el futuro le diga a su mami, like, Mami, me acuerdo that you were playing the congos. You were doing something. Did I dream this or did it happen? You know.
And you know, and you may not have they might not have a specific memory, but it becomes part of who they are. Like having that privilege. You know, I always say thank you at the end of the semester, because we do this in like 10-week like semesters kind of, because then we do new music. There's lots of music, and the last class I always say, I just want to thank you parents for sharing your children with me, because it has been a privilege to see them even in these 10 weeks, like how much these kids absorb and grow in 10 weeks. Like as a parent, you know that, but you forget it. And I'm like, I just want, you know, that you spent your time with your child sharing it with me. I always thank them, because it is a privilege to me. That's why I still teach. I could just do the teacher trainings, keep recording music, and, you know, not sit on the floor and get a backache and haul instruments around. But if I'm going to teach teachers how to do it, I need to stay in it myself until my knees give out. I hope I have another good 30 years of doing this. So I don't know about that.
Well, but, siempre hay sillitas. Siempre hay sillitas,
pero casi siempre nos sentamos en el piso. Pero sí, siempre hay por lo menos una sillita.
Yes. Wow. Y fíjate qué importante es también uno como padre asumir la responsabilidad. Estamos hablando de lo que tú estás proviendo para estas familias, pero también la responsabilidad de nosotros padres de poderle presentar estas cosas a nuestros niños, ¿verdad? De ser sumergidos. I think one thing right now that we're talking, something that's coming into my mind and that has really been bugging me lately. I feel like this world is eating us without us even knowing, right? And I was just seeing a video that kind of sparked this thought right now, where it was like you give your children right away to Head Start, preschool, kindergarten, están bebitos, pero empiezan a pasar más tiempo en la escuela que con uno. And, we are so overwhelmed with problems and financial responsibilities. And now there's very few housewives. There's very few stay-at-home moms. So literally you're going to work from 9 to 6. You see your kid for maybe 30 minutes and then it's shower, go to sleep, do homework, whatever you need to do, get everything ready. And then boom, next day is the same thing all over again. And we're losing that connection with our children.
Mija, is so true. It's so true. Modern life is,
Yes.
I'll tell you, I feel like just those precious moments that you have, so first of all, I agree. There's so much need for quality childcare, but think about why that is, right? I think we, si por necesidad tenemos todos que salir y dejarlos de chiquitito.
Yeah.
¿Verdad?
Yeah.
Pero I have a number of amazing, wonderful nannies who come with the kids. And as a mom who had a fabulous relationship with our part-time caretaker for my kids, I never felt threatened. Some people do. I think that's crazy. If you find a person that can be part of the tribe that raises your child, be grateful. So these nannies are fantastic. And what they do is that we have our book. The book has the music. So the songbook has Spanish, it has English, it has notes for the parents. So if the nanny's the one that's bringing, or one of the parents, right, brings the child to class, they don't lose out on the entire class experience. Maybe they have a week off and they come and they sit in and they bring the child to the class one time. But then they have the materials at home and it becomes like the connection, and the nannies are like, ay, mira, esta canción le encanta. And then they can sing it at home, they can dance it at home. So I hope that that's also part of it. So it's part of bringing the learning and the fun home.
Yes.
If you are the parent who can't be in class,
que se entiende. Que se entiende. No, en ningún momento yo trato de ofender, porque yo sé que no todos tenemos las mismas circunstancias. I have made a lot of sacrifices in our lifestyle, in my life, to be able to be present in my child's life, but that has come with a big price tag.
Absolutely.
And the rewards are priceless. So I'll take that, right? We haven't been able to go on, fancy restaurants every week. We haven't been able to travel as much as I would love to travel. We haven't been able to get fancy cars and a house and all this stuff. Pero el tiempo con mi niño nadie me lo roba. Pero eso ha sido porque las circunstancias me lo permiten. Hay alguna gente que no les permite sus circunstancias, whether you're a widow, you're a single mom, whatever the circumstance is. Not everybody has them. So I don't want to seem like I'm talking from a place of privilege.
No, not well. But let's talk about privilege, because really, I think about this a lot. Okay, so I try to. So one of the values of Canta Y Baila Conmigo and of us as a family and as a team and as a company is acceptance.
Yes.
But acceptance in the broadest way, right? We don't try to say this is the culture that is right, or this is the type of Spanish that is right, or this is the type of family that is doing it right. Okay, so from the way you participate in class, which is to the best of your ability,
yes,
and whatever ability you have, our program, our class experience is open to any age, any Spanish level, any discapacidad o capacidad física, mental. O sea, this is all about including.
I love that.
And so, but then I think, okay, but it's also a privilege to be able to have the disposable income and the time to bring your child to a class.
Oh, of course.
So one of the things that I know that, I'm still struggling, I hope I make a paycheck sometime soon after 12 years, other than a paycheck of the heart. No, but seriously, after developing so much material and everything, we're finally going to be in a position, like, I really want to find opportunities for outreach. Bring the program, because everybody needs it. Everybody can take advantage of what we do. This is not just something for someone who, as a whim, it would be nice to learn Spanish. Yeah, that's great too, and we welcome those families as well, that for whom this is like a fun choice. But as an example, having opportunities, like we worked with the Colorado Symphony, and the Colorado Symphony found us and said, we've been looking for a curriculum because we want to be, it was their office of family outreach and education of family outreach. And they got all these grants. We put a show together that it was our music and our presentation with symphony musicians to bring it to schools and communities. And they got all these grants where during the pandemic, myself and a few of my teachers who were really good on Zoom, we brought the program to about 120 kids in the Adams 14 school district, which is in Commerce City, Colorado, north of Denver, where like 80% of students are of Spanish heritage, but it's an underserved population, especially with things like music. And that kind of opportunity, I mean, that's lights up my heart, right?
Yes,
so
that's huge.
Bring our program. Yeah. So we want to bring our program. We just need more teachers. We need more teachers everywhere. Anybody for whom this speaks to you, contact us, because we have families asking all the time, and we're like, all we need is a teacher in your area.
Yes. Go to the website, cantayBailaConmigo.com. You actually have a little tab where it says become a provider. So yes, if you guys are interested, please. This seems like an amazing thing to be a part of. Ahorita que estabas diciendo eso, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. And I'm thinking right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Maddie. Siento como que cuando yo estaba creciendo, la música era mucho más importante en nuestras vidas, right? Nuestras mamás limpiando y escuchando música.
Escuchando, pero también cantando y tocando, o sea, no
bailando.
Solo pasivamente.
Yes, my mom used to dance with the vacuum.
Yes.
Siempre fue parte de nosotros. And somewhere along the way, I feel like, and this kind of goes back to my statement that I was making. I don't know if it's the world, if it's the times, what
so
it is.
Busy.
Yes, everybody's so busy nowadays that we're not getting that. We're not getting that. And so to start seeing that maybe, you know, if more people join, if more people become a part of it, then it'll become more accessible. It'll get more attention. Oh my God, imagine being a part of this.
I mean, and I'll tell you, talking about like how I get as much as I give, because I give all of myself to this program. But every time I have a teacher training, I have so far we're small enough. I think I've trained maybe 100 teachers, right? Or maybe more at this point, but they're not all working at the same time, right? But like I've met all the people that I've met. Every single teacher that comes to my training, they're like, oh, I'm here to learn from you. Like, I'm not the guru. I can tell you what I know, and I want to learn from you too. And I feel like I learn with every teacher training group. I am open to learning and improving. And so I know personally every single person that I've trained, like that has trained for Canta Y Baila so far, because I've been I have a co-trainer, but I've trained them all, and I feel like we do have a community. So if you become a Canta teacher, you don't just like take a course and that's it, right? Like we have continuing like a community. Every active teacher has access to our forums, our Facebook group, our online resources, and we do workshops to keep everybody, and that's just like part of the community. People get to know each other from across the country. Like the one who's in like California meets the one who is in I know we have a center in Poland now, unas mexicanas.
No.
En Polonia, sí, y una peruana en Bonn, Germany, ¿ok? Trabajando Canta y Baila con los expats. Así que no solamente es en Estados Unidos. Es bien chulo, bien chévere.
Oh my God. Hold on. I have to give you a round of applause. Hold on.
Well, round of applause to all those teachers que se fajan porque no es fácil cuando empiezan a like spread the word. We hope that like when people see our website, our whole point of like trying to brand it and have like recognition is because it takes a while for people to like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I'm going to try it with my kids.
It's so funny what I've learned in marketing, you guys, and this is not like trying to put down anybody, but you have to hold the audience hand and walk them through for them to understand your concept and stuff. And it's crazy to me de que no, no, algunas personas no vean algo y luego lo reconozcan. It's like, no, you have to kind of walk them through, but it's okay. Well, that's what we're here for, right?
We're all so busy.
Yes.
Like, we all need to hear things many, many times before we register, just like kids.
Yes. My mom goes, that's why God's always teaching us a lesson, because we don't learn.
We don't learn.
No aprendemos la primera vez, some of us. Pero right now that you're saying, so my question would be, to become a provider, to become one of these teachers, to become a part of Canta y Baila Conmigo, what is needed for somebody to do it?
So here's the thing. As the Canta y Baila Conmigo teacher, you are a model. You don't have to be a performer or a professional teacher or performer. You are a human being who is going to be, digo yo como el animador de la experiencia, right? You need to be someone who enjoys kids and families, but like we have a lot of teachers who are young don't have their own kids yet, and that's okay. Your first like customer is the parent, right?
Yeah.
Si tienes que tener un interés en el desarrollo de los niños, aparte de eso, to be a good communicator and to have an inner sense of music. You don't have to go to Conservatorio de Música, to Berklee School of Music, although we have some amazing musicians that are Canta y Baila teachers that are like, know a lot more than I do about music. Pero it's about, we're not teaching formal music and we're not formally teaching language. We are creating an immersive experience. I give you the tools, I give you the curriculum, but you bring your own arte. I tell people, like, you don't have to have been a teacher necessarily. You don't have to have been a professional musician. There are things that I can teach you. What I can't teach you is tu manera de ser abierto o abierta, de querer compartir esa alegría. That's like the biggest thing. You do have to be able to sing in tune. You don't have to even play an instrument. Many teachers learn how to play the guitar after they become a Canta y Baila teacher. They're like, I want to learn. Because they don't have to be the expert. They just have to, like, if you are modeling that, ese gusto, ese sentido de comunidad, que tú quieres traer algo al mundo, that's the most important thing.
Yes, las ganas, I would say.
Las ganas.
Wow, so if I wanted to, I could get trained by you. And
yes, you could.
Oh my goodness, this is interesting. I mean, I have so much on my plate right now, but
I know.
Hasta me interesa a mí, because I love kids. I just
kids who love music, you don't have to, like, right?
Pero lo único es que no, I don't sing in tune. Yo canto como Bad Bunny. I'm like, oh. Yeah.
So maybe we would work on that. But you would be surprised. A lot of people who think, ay, es que yo no sé cantar, es que you haven't developed, like, you have the ear, but you haven't developed la musculatura y eso. But, it's easier if you already, like, kind of sing in tune. But we've had people who, like, really work at it really hard, and we mentor them through an amount of time and then become great teachers. I'll tell you, at first, I also said, like, okay, I guess it can only be native speakers who teach this program.
No.
But, like, what is a native speaker? Because I'm like, I guess, because if you're offering this program, but, like, what is a native speaker? these days. Like if you're in the States and you are second generation, you can be a native speaker, but you're not going to sound like a native speaker from, I don't know, directly in Perú or in España.
Estamos tan mezclados hoy en día.
Yeah.
Que no se necesita que ser de ese lugar.
No, pero we even have teachers that are Anglo, right? That are not native. However, siempre ellos lo que modelan es que I don't know if I can teach this program. I feel like an imposter. And I said, you are modeling that you, porque siempre es alguien que se ha casado con alguien o que ha vivido en el país. Y que, sí que tienen su propio, han adoptado la cultura, porque todos tenemos una cultura diferente, ¿verdad?
Sí,
la cultura
sí, sí.
Small c. And what they can model, often they are better teachers of language. They have to have a lot of proficiency.
Yeah.
Pero sometimes they're better teachers of language because they're thinking, oh, what is the person not going to understand, right? But you're also modeling that you love the Spanish cultures or Latino culture so much that you want to share it. And because you're not the expert, and as a teacher, if you're not native, then you draw from the families, and that's still accommodated. La mayoría sí son, ¿verdad? You could say native speakers. But let's talk about heritage speakers, right?
Let's talk about it.
You know, people, I want to make it clear that I'm not equating speaking Spanish with being Latino, because that's a heavy topic. And we have heavy topics as part of our teacher training. We talk a lot about the emotional side of what language means to people.
Yes.
And there are so many Latinos that I call them heritage speakers. Some folks will call them heritage speakers because they have Hispanic heritage, but maybe they don't speak Spanish. They don't carry the Spanish card. How much shame people carry because of that. How much, and even if you're like, ay, yo más o menos lo hablo, pero masticado porque mi mamá la habla, you know, like, there's no judgment there, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of self-doubt, self-judgment. We know of these cases of the yo no sabo kids.
Yes.
You know, this whole thing, which is like so sad. Just to bring some levity into it, did you ever watch, it's related, Superstore?
No, I didn't. I know the show, but
America
I never
Ferrera,
watched it.
¿verdad? Que es la que hace ella es la manager de la tienda.
Creo que sí.
And it was never about her being Latina, except one episode when she started dating. She divorced and she started dating this really handsome guy who was the one who was like delivering the sodas.
Okay.
And he was Dominican. And she's all psyched about going out with this guy until she's like says to her coworkers, oh my God, he invited me to dinner at his house. He thinks I speak Spanish. Because y yo entiendo, yo le digo, sí, but he's going to take me to meet his family, and they're going to find out that I don't speak Spanish. And it was like a huge thing for her. I always think of that as like the humorous way to put it, pero es que en ese momento ella dijo, es que yo no soy Latina because I don't speak, you know, like there's so much.
Yes, that
So
is.
many people in this country.
Yes.
And so I want to make sure that people understand that, yes, we are touting like, esto es en español, y you don't have to be a Spanish speaker. And in fact, some of our families that are our most loyal followers are heritage speakers who feel that they have found a place, if the teacher does it correctly, they find a place where they are not being judged and they themselves can reconnect with things that maybe, oh my gosh, I don't know any lullabies en español, pero esta hora que me acuerdo mi abuelita como que la cantaba. And I have my teacher, because she's my teacher, Christy, who is, shout out to Christy Espinel in Miami. She talks about like people who come to class for the first time, especially in the Miami area with the Cuban population, and they leave the first class and they're crying because like la emoción que les sale, que they could finally like, they were not judged, they connected, their kids are going to connect, they had an emotional connection and they didn't have to think about themselves as a non-Spanish speaker. I'm like, eso me trae, because you don't, we don't judge you. You're here absorbing like the kids, and you sing, and whether you speak it or don't, whatever your heritage is, you're included. And that to me is really important, because one of the things that prevents people from I guess it's the identifier. It's like, si no hablas español, am I less Latino? Can I not claim that heritage?
That's huge. And I'm so glad that you're touching on it, because I think it only proves what you said at the beginning. You want to welcome everybody in. This is not a space where we judge you. This is just a space where we just want to immerse you, and for you to have fun, enjoy your children, the children to maybe spark something in them to, look forward to in the future. I myself have to say, if I'm being completely honest, I have been in that place where I judge people for not speaking Spanish. And for those that do speak Spanish and are not Latinos, I'm like, well, they're not Latino, but that's cool. You learn Spanish. I have been in that place. But right now, the way that you're saying it makes me think of like when I go to Mexico to visit family. When I go to Mexico to visit family, I'm not Mexican enough. I'm a pocha. And then here in the States, I'm not American because of my name. Mm-hmm. Maribel Reyes. Like, you cannot get any more Mexican than that. And it's a very uncomfortable place to be at. But what does language have to do with what's in your blood? What's in your DNA, por decirlo así, right?
Yeah. I mean, us Puerto Ricans, we go through that too, because I, again, talk about privilege. I've got I've got white privilege. I can pass, right? So I am reminded of that privilege. But just talking even about Puerto Ricanness and who's New Yorker and who's Puerto Rican, since the 1950s, there is even people in the same family. Pero ese es un New Yorker. Pero yo no es puertorriqueño. Do you belong here? Do you belong there? You're not American. Like, the Puerto Rican community has felt it for a long time in kind of a slightly different way. Like, pero tú hablas eso como New Yorker. But then other places, like, we judge each other. Like, yes. And I'm not, we judge each other. Ay, pero ese es de tal país y ese suena como tal cosa, I like to revel in the fact that in the state, that my kids' friends are from so many different places, and the acceptance and the laughing over que en un idioma una palabra es mala palabra en el otro idioma. I mean, like, let's have fun with it.
Yes.
But there's so many levels. Acento, de cuánto hablas, de cuál dialecto. I tell the teachers to be themselves in class and to bring their own, like, as neutral Spanish in a way, but there's no such thing as neutral Spanish.
No.
We don't want
and now, and I don't want to take away and kind of, because we could do a whole podcast on just this subject alone. Because
bring me back later and we can talk about
me estás haciendo pensar, Maddie. Like, now I'm like questioning myself. Why do I do that? Is it because it's done to me? That's something that we need to change. That is definitely something that we need to change, because ¿qué es lo que te hace latino? ¿Es porque naciste en un país latinoamericano? ¿Es porque tus papás vienen de allá? ¿Es porque hablas el idioma? Porque, como te digo, yo conozco gente, oh my God, I've met people where I'm like, at work, I used to work in healthcare, and I would be like, ay, este presumido, mira nomás, que sangrón. That was one of my coworkers. Kenny, I don't know where you are in the world, Kenny, I love you. But to me, he was African American. Y yo, mira nomás este presumido, no nos saluda, sangrón, and I'm all talking smack about him. And as he's leaving the break room, he's like, que pasen bonito día. And I'm like,
You never know. Nosotros venimos, somos de todos los colores y todos los sabores.
De todo tenemos. And I was like, what? Come to find out, he was raised by his grandmother, Mexican, half black. And he was like, I just don't speak the language because I was raised to just speak English. But I understand Spanish. I can speak Spanish. I can read it. I can write it. He's like, so if you're talking smack, I know. And I'm like, oh my God, que vergüenza. But I know. But anyway.
But why not make our community bigger? Let's make our community bigger, right?
Yes. And I love that. And I love what Canta Y Baila Conmigo is representing and creating. Maddie, you're going to rule the world one day.
That's a funny thought. I would like to. I would like to, so I can put some people in their place and say,
you know what? It's so funny. La otra vez le estaba diciendo a mi esposo, this is kind of a little bit off subject, but I'm like, because they were talking about they were going to release somebody, a child molester here in San Diego. And so the community that they wanted to release him to was like, we do not want him here. And so there was like, a city meeting and like all these things. And I told my husband, I'm like, they should get all those people and just have like a one-way ticket to Snake Island. I don't know if you've ever heard of Snake Island. I'm like, let's just drop them off there. I'm sure the snakes would not mind.
Inclusion can stop at some point. Like, we can have some parameters. Like,
let's just one-way ticket.
But as long as you're kind, as long as you're open, as long as you want to be joyful in a community setting, that's what we want in our classes, and that's who we want for our teachers and our families to be. And yeah.
For those of you that are listening to us, I cannot not guide you enough to go and check out this website if you have little ones, if you have nieces and nephews, si son abuelitas, if you're a soon-to-be abuelita. Los niños son esponjitas hermosas que absorben todo lo que le tenemos que dar, y qué bonito que hay un programa como el tuyo, Maddie, donde hay esta oportunidad de ser parte de esta comunidad. Another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on that I feel like you're creating with this program is that community that we are missing today. We used to have villages, right? I grew up with my grandma, my tías, my tíos, my cousins. I was the youngest, but there's a big age gap between me and my siblings, 11 and 9 years. So casi fui como hija única, right?
Yeah.
Pero nunca me sentí solita. Siempre tenía a mis primos, la abuelita siempre cocinando. Like, I didn't miss out on that village, right? However, now I'm noticing that village no longer exists. People move away. Grandma's not alive anymore. My mom is very Americanized now, where she's not cooking every day for my son. The cousins, pues, como nos hemos movido, my son is not growing up with that same environment. So to find a place like Canta Y Baila Conmigo that is providing an environment where you're safe, where you're having fun, where you're learning.
These kids become friends. They become like cousins. Like, you see relationships blossoming. And during COVID, we had families that had like los abuelitos en un estado y los niños en otro estado doing the Zoom class at the same time. So that was like, that's how we figured it out back then. But now, there's still some Zoom classes, but these kids learned, and the parents make connections. Because as a parent especially if you're a first-time parent, it can get so lonely.
Talk about it.
So lonely. And so we want to foster all of that.
Yes. Y qué bonito encontrarnos en un lugar donde hay alegría. There's joy. I'm sure, there's some parents that even connect and they become friends too.
Yes.
It's a support system. It reminds me of almost like, cuando mi niño estaba chiquito, I would take him to the library. And singing time at the library, right? The wheels go around and the bus. And while they were singing and dancing, then the moms, we would kind of talk and, oh my God, did you bring your coffee today? I forgot. You know what? My kid didn't want to get dressed, so we're here late, but I'll get it afterwards. Oh, well, let's go. I'll go with you, and that was nice. That was nice. Pero pues, the kids also kind of grow out of that, and then it's kind of up to you and your child because they start choosing their, but it's our job to guide them in the right direction and give them those tools for them to succeed for that. Maddie, eres una genia.
Ay, gracias.
Me encanta lo que estás haciendo.
Getting all red.
No, don't get red. Me encanta lo que estás haciendo, mujer. Estás cambiando algo tan importante en los niños. Estás introducing them to something so important.
I hope you can go, even if you don't go with your son, borrow un sobrinito o alguien and go do a trial class with Miss Diana, Songbirds Music in San Diego, and just like, I've had abuelitas who say, podrías hacer una clase donde ya no traemos a los niños y es como para allá, para los más maduros, que sea solo.
Are you going to work on that? Is that a thing?
That was a great compliment too. Esa abuelita que venía a visitar de Colombia decía, ay sí, pero ¿no puedes hacer una clase donde te dejamos a los niños en la casa?
I know, because that's how much fun she was having.
That's how much fun she was having.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that in the works? Can I request that too?
Nah, just borrow a kid, I guess, so you don't look weird.
You know what? Tengo muchos. Una de mis cuñadas tiene 5 niños. Y los últimos 2 son twins. Hands full. I'm like,
well, she might need some help. Go with her. As many adults as want to come with the kids are welcome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Me le voy a pegar. Dime piña por colada. I'm gonna be there.
Dale.
But yes.
Can I sing to you?
Yes, please do. Oh my God, yes.
Because I didn't sing you porque tú me estás invitando a mí, entonces yo no te canté la canción de bienvenida, pero cuando sea hora de despedirnos, yo tengo mis mi sound from musicians on, so that hopefully the audio is good. You tell me, and I'll sing us out when we're done.
Okay, so let's just do this. You guys, I don't know in how many ways I can tell you. I do not have the words to tell you. I love what Maddie's doing. Please go and check out Canta Y Baila Conmigo. If you don't have a baby, that's okay. You don't need one. She just said you can borrow babies, okay? From family and friends. Now everybody's having a baby, Maddie. Everybody's pregnant. So
there you go. Just get your ride with someone you know.
Yes. And all the information, check out the screen if you're watching us on YouTube, Spotify. If not, on the description box. And I'm going to end this saying thank you so much for your time, Maddie. And let's enjoy a song for Maddie.
Okay, but you're going to help me at the end, okay?
Oh my God, no! Oh my God.
This is what we sing. Siempre que terminamos la clase, yo digo vayan de lado a lado. So wherever you are, just swing back and forth. Y esto tiene like a Mexican feel to it, so it's dedicated to you. Adiós, adiós, amigos. Es hora de partir después de haber pasado un rato tan feliz. Adiós, adiós, Maribel. Adiós a los oyentes. Adiós, adiós a Maddie. Adiós, adiós a todos. Ya nos veremos la próxima vez. Ahora nos vamos, pero después regresaré con familia y amigos para bailar y cantar. Take your pretend guitar, strum them. Contigo.
have a right to use that? Like, can I use that at my exits?
Yes. That's how we say goodbye in every class.
Oh, Maddie, you are amazing. You're amazing.
Aww.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I love you and your podcast, and I'm hooked. I've listened to all of them. I'm hooked.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.